So in the fraction of a second it takes your coffee shop app to just go beep, your money was probably just targeted by a cartel in one hemisphere.
Oh, absolutely.
Or like a synthetic identity algorithm in another,
See?
right? Or a corporate bribery ring in a third. You tap your phone, you grab your latte, and you walk out the door totally oblivious to this invisible, high-stakes shadow war being fought over those digital pennies.
It is, it's a terrifying thought when you actually slow it down and look at it. I mean, we treat seamless digital finance like gravity. We just expect it to work.
Right. Like flipping a light switch.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But that seamlessness is a total illusion. It's maintained by this massive, highly coordinated defense infrastructure. Somewhere in the world right now, an analyst is looking at a data stream.
Wow. Just watching the numbers.
Yeah, making sure the transaction is actually you buying a coffee
Yeah.
and not, a front company layering illicit funds.
And today, we are looking at the exact curriculum used to train the people standing between your daily coffee habit and global financial collapse.
Quite a stack of documents we've got.
It really is. We have a fascinating stack of sources for this deep dive. We're looking at the official landing page, the detailed curriculum syllabus, the pricing structures, and even student testimonials for a very specific professional credential. It's called the ICA Certificate in Financial Crime Prevention.
And our mission with these sources is to really demystify the actual mechanics of this industry. We want to understand how the professionals who protect your money get trained to fight fraud, bribery, and corruption on a global scale.
Because no one is just born knowing how to spot a shell company, right?
Right, exactly. They have to be taught.
Okay, let's unpack this. I want to start with what I'm kind of calling the syllabus of suspicion.
I like that.
Yeah, looking at the core factual content, the International Compliance Association, the ICA, expects these professionals to master, it reads like a thriller novel.
They really got it.
They are covering financial crime risks, fraud controls, banking fraud typologies, identity theft, electronic crime, bribery and corruption, fraud response policies. It's a lot.
It is a massive scope.
It honestly feels like reading the bad guy's playbook just to figure out how to set up the defense.
Well, the course's stated core philosophy actually mirrors that exact approach. They explicitly state the goal is to understand the threat so you can mitigate the risk.
Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah, because you cannot design an effective set of fraud controls if you don't intimately understand the specific tools the enemy is bringing to the gates.
Right, you have to know what you're fighting.
Precisely. If you don't know the mechanical difference between, say, how a low-level hacker exploits an electronic payment gateway versus how a multinational syndicate structures a bribe, your defenses are basically just security theater.
But, looking at this list of topics, I'm just struck by the wildly different scales of these crimes.
Oh, so?
Well, how does a single curriculum effectively cover microcrimes targeting individuals like, someone stealing your grandma's identity alongside these massive systemic macro crimes like global corporate bribery?
Yeah.
It feels like teaching someone how to stop a pickpocket and how to dismantle a drug cartel in the exact same afternoon.
What's fascinating here is that the line between the microcrime and the macrocrime is completely non-existent in the modern financial system.
Wait, really? Non-existent?
Completely. The pickpocket is actively working for the cartel. In the world of financial crime prevention, mass identity theft is the foundational building block for the largest banking fraud typologies on Earth.
Okay, walk me through the mechanics of that, because how does stealing a single credit card scale up to funding a whole cartel?
Well, it rarely starts with just stealing a physical credit card anymore. Criminals synthesize entirely new people,
Synthesize, like AI.
like building a person from scratch. Let's say your personal data was exposed in a minor retail data breach a few years ago. Fraudsters will take your real social security number, but attach it to a completely fake name, a fake date of birth, and a fake address.
So they basically create a ghost.
A very active ghost. They apply for a tiny unsecured credit card with that synthetic identity. They make small purchases.
Just buying groceries and stuff.
Exactly. And they pay them off perfectly for 2 years. They build a pristine credit score for a human being who does not exist.
Oh, wow.
Then they use that mature, trusted identity to open corporate bank accounts, establish shell companies, and secure massive commercial loans. They do this tens of thousands of times to create a vast network of mule accounts.
And then they use those pristine fake accounts to wash the millions of dollars they made from the macro crimes.
Exactly the mechanism. When a corrupt official takes a massive bribe, they don't just deposit it into their personal checking account.
Right. That would be an immediate red flag.
Right. They filter it through that network of synthetic ghost accounts to obscure the origin. So, an ICA-certified compliance officer cannot effectively fight institutional corruption if they don't intimately understand the granular mechanics of identity theft.
Because it's all connected.
They have to study the entire ecosystem of fraud because the criminals are using the whole ecosystem.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Despite this being a clearly global course, dealing with borderless electronic crime and international cartels, one of the key syllabus bullet points is specifically about exploring the UK system of criminal offenses.
Yes, that is a very specific focus.
Why anchor a global fight in the legal system of one specific island?
It acts as the ultimate stress test. The UK legal framework for financial crime isn't just a local set of rules. It operates kind of like the source code for global financial regulation.
The source code, I like that.
It is incredibly comprehensive and has massive extraterritorial reach.
Extraterritorial meaning the laws apply outside the UK borders.
Yes, take the UK Bribery Act, for example. If a company does even a fraction of its business in the United Kingdom, they can be prosecuted in London for a bribe paid by one of their subsidiaries in South America to an official in Asia.
Wow, so the net is incredibly wide.
Very wide.
Oh, I see. So studying the UK system is like learning Latin. If you understand the complex underlying root language of this massive regulatory framework, you can easily translate those concepts into the local dialect of wherever you happen to be working.
That is the perfect analogy. By mastering the UK system of criminal offenses, these professionals are learning the absolute gold standard of legal liability.
Makes sense?
Once you understand how to navigate a framework that strict, applying those same principles and critical thinking skills to a less stringent jurisdiction is relatively straightforward.
But okay, if they have to memorize the entire ecosystem of global cartels, the mechanics of synthetic identities, and the Latin source code of UK financial law, how on earth do you test that without locking them in a room for 3 days?
It's a logistical challenge for sure.
Because that naturally brings us to the mechanics of the training ground.
Right. The logistics of adult education in high-stakes fields require a very specific architecture. The ICA course details outline a flexible self-study format.
Self-study.
Yeah, they state it can be completed in as little as 4 weeks. Those students have access to the materials for up to 2 months. And it nets them 20 ICA CPD hours.
Which is continuing professional development. And those aren't just vanity hours, right?
Not at all.
In financial compliance, maintaining a certain number of CPD hours annually is often a strict regulatory requirement just to keep your job.
Absolutely. It's mandatory for a lot of these folks.
Plus, the certification itself, which gives them the official designation Cert FinCrime, is awarded in association with Alliance Manchester Business School at the University of Manchester.
Yes, a very prestigious institution.
That kind of academic pedigree requires a sound educational background and good written English just to register.
While having that university association signals to employers and regulators that this isn't, a certificate printed off a random website.
Right. It's not just some internet badge.
Exactly. It carries real institutional weight. The student testimonials on the landing page heavily emphasize this. One past student calls it one of the top models for self-study, while another highlights the thought-provoking sessions that allowed them to engage deeply with the material.
I read those testimonials and they are glowing. But I have to demand some proof here. I need to push back on the assessment method.
Go for it.
To get the certificate, to prove to a regulator that you understand complex banking fraud typologies and global bribery networks, you have to pass a 1-hour online multiple-choice exam.
That is correct.
And you can take it at any point with immediate results. Are you telling me someone can get certified to guard our financial system with a 1-hour multiple-choice test?
This raises an important question, and it is the central tension in professional certification balancing academic rigor with the brutal realities of the modern workforce.
Because we are totally conditioned to think multiple choice means easy, and a 3-hour written essay means rigorous.
Because it usually does in a traditional school setting. But it is fast, and you have to consider the audience. This course targets working financial crime prevention employees and professionals in financial services.
Right, they already have jobs.
These are adults already working 50-hour weeks fighting these exact crimes. If the barrier to entry is a logistical nightmare, like traveling to a physical testing center, taking time off work, waiting 6 weeks for a professor to grade an essay, the upskilling simply will not happen.
Okay, I understand the necessity of convenience for busy adults, but convenience doesn't equal competence. How does a multiple choice question test anything beyond basic memorization?
Because a well-designed multiple-choice question in this field isn't asking for trivia. It's not asking, what year was the UK Bribery Act passed?
Okay, what is it asking then?
It is asking the student to perform complex scenario analysis under a massive time crunch.
Give me an example. What does a complex scenario look like on an exam like this?
Okay, imagine a question that reads like this. A mid-level manager at a logistics firm in Rotterdam suddenly pays off a massive mortgage.
Red flag number one.
Right. The funds for the payoff were wired from a newly formed shell company in the British Virgin Islands, which is wholly owned by an offshore trust.
Okay, my head is already spinning.
And the manager stated income hasn't changed. So based on the banking fraud typologies you've studied, which specific anti-money laundering control failed at the point of origin, and what is the immediate regulatory reporting requirement under international standards?
Wow. Okay. That is a dense paragraph of variables.
And the 4 multiple-choice answers will be highly technical, incredibly similar, and entirely plausible if you don't know the exact mechanisms of both the crime and the law.
So you can't just guess.
No, it tests recognition, judgment, and the application of policy simultaneously.
You essentially have to reverse engineer the crime in your head in about 90 seconds.
Precisely. That is the reality of the job. A compliance officer staring at a flagging transaction on their monitor doesn't have 3 hours to write an essay about it.
They have minutes.
They have minutes to decide whether to freeze the funds. The 1-hour on-demand format isn't a shortcut. It's a simulation of the speed of modern business.
Okay, I stand corrected. The mechanism of the test matches the mechanism of the job, which actually transitions perfectly into what happens after they hit submit and pass that exam.
Yes, the aftermath.
Because based on the pricing structure listed in these sources, getting the certificate is not the end of the journey. It is merely the entry fee into a much larger ecosystem.
The certification is just the baseline. The real value is the global network they are forced to join.
Let's talk about the literal price of admission, because the economics here are fascinating. The course fees vary depending on currency. It's £730, €803, or $949.
A significant investment.
Yeah, but crucially, if you are not already an existing ICA member, you cannot just buy the course a la carte. A fee for a 12-month membership is automatically added to your basket at checkout.
Right, there's no opting out.
Which is another £185, €204, or $241.
They are mandating continuous engagement with the wider organization. You cannot treat this as a one-off transactional learning experience.
So what does this all mean? To me, the mandatory subscription model means this is less like buying a textbook and more like joining a gym for financial defense.
A gem? That's a
It's-
great way to look at it.
You don't just buy the dumbbells once and assume you'll be strong forever. You pay a subscription to keep coming back, to keep training, and to spar with other people who are also training.
The gym analogy works perfectly, especially when you look at the amenities that membership buys. It is entirely focused on continuous conditioning.
Like what kind of conditioning?
Well, members get access to a community of over 30,000 professionals. They get a personalized ICA learning hub and discounts on future events. But the most critical tool for the day-to-day fight against crime is the access to weekly webinars covering the latest industry developments.
Weekly sparring sessions.
Exactly. If we connect this to the bigger picture, the learning cannot stop after the 4-week course because the criminals do not stop innovating.
That's a scary thought.
It is. A syndicate doesn't wait for the Manchester Business School to update a syllabus before they launch a new electronic crime vector.
And the scale of this network is staggering. The sources show the checkout page drop-down list for your location.
Oh, the country list.
Yeah, it goes from Afghanistan, Island Islands, Albania, all the way down the alphabet to Wallis and Futuna, Yemen, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. It is quite literally an A to Z list of the planet.
That A to Z list perfectly maps the reality of the threat landscape.
How so?
Well, a scam today might originate from a server farm in one country, utilize those synthetic identities we discussed built from data stolen in a second country, route the illicit funds through a shell company in a third country, and finally cash out via an ATM network in a fourth.
It's everywhere all at once.
Exactly. Financial crime is inherently borderless.
Which means the defense has to be a borderless, privatized intelligence agency.
That is exactly what this network functions as. A compliance officer sitting in London or New York needs to understand a new fraud typology emerging out of Southeast Asia today, not next year.
Right.
Those weekly webinars and that active 30,000-member network are a real-time intelligence sharing apparatus.
So when a new phishing vector hits Singapore on Tuesday, it becomes a webinar topic for the global membership by Thursday, and the analyst in London is updating their fraud detection algorithms by Friday.
The membership fee ensures the global defense mechanism adapts as quickly as the threat. Long after their initial course is done, that continuous intelligence loop is what keeps them armed.
Think about that the next time you look at your monthly banking fees. A tiny fraction of what we all pay into the financial system goes toward funding this invisible, borderless intelligence network.
It really puts it in perspective.
It gives you a totally different appreciation for that satisfying little beep at the coffee shop.
It reveals the massive scale of the invisible infrastructure required to protect everyday commerce.
We have covered incredible ground today. We started with the syllabus of suspicion, dissecting the mechanisms of how stolen data becomes synthetic identities that fund cartels.
A lot of dark mechanics there.
Yeah, and then we explored the training ground mechanics, proving that a flexible one-hour scenario test backed by Manchester Business School is actually a rigorous simulation of the job.
Not just a simple quiz.
Right. And finally, we uncovered the Gym for Financial Defense, a mandatory global intelligence network of 30,000 professionals constantly sharing real-time threats across every country, from Afghanistan to Zimbabwe.
It provides a comprehensive, mechanical understanding of how the financial world attempts to inoculate itself against incredibly sophisticated adversaries.
But as always, our deep dives leave us with a lingering thought to chew on. We keep coming back to the terrifying speed of it all.
The speed is the real issue.
The syllabus heavily features electronic crime and banking fraud typologies. But we live in a world where technology, specifically generative AI and deepfakes, evolves in a matter of hours, not years.
It's the ultimate arms race.
Which makes you wonder. By the time a curriculum is officially written, rigorously vetted by a prestigious university business school, and turned into a standardized multiple-choice scenario, have the criminals already invented a completely new type of synthetic identity that isn't even on the syllabus yet?
That is the existential question for everyone in this field. You are constantly chasing a moving target.
Something to think about the next time you tap your card and wait for the beep. Thank you for joining us as we unpacked the hidden training grounds of financial defense. Keep questioning the world around you, keep looking for the invisible machinery, and we look forward to going on our next deep dive with you.